Welcome. This is Emotionally Intelligent Living, Straight Talk with Steve. And I want to welcome you to this series that I'm doing. Again, these are unscripted, and I just want to spend some time, usually about 15 minutes, talking about something I find very important that I pulled out of my 40 plus years of experience working with hundreds of organizations and thousands of different people. For years, I have had people ask me, Steve, we know you do this long form coaching, that lasts for years and one-on-ones and all of that. Is there a way you can package a year's worth of transformational learning and growth into 12 weeks? Of course, what I've said is, sure, that'll be easy. The reality is, I've actually been able to do that. What happens when I coach someone for the long term is that, is that we get to know each other. Every month we spend a couple of hours together in coaching, and then there's other work that's done. But what I've realized is that there are certain elements that can be put into a curriculum style that I have now developed and am launching two. Actually, there'll be three, but for now, just two masterminds. Now, I know a mastermind. What is a mastermind? It's where you invest in yourself to get deep training, deep knowledge, growth, learning in a specific area, whether it be leadership or sales or even just personal development. Whatever that happens to be, what I've done is I've developed a curriculum-based process that goes for 12 weeks. I call it 12 weeks of transformation, with the overall titles being EQFIT Leadership Mastermind, EQFIT Sales Mastermind. Let me get to why that's important. Bottom line, what goes on in our lives is we tend to fall into reactive mode. And then we wonder why we're not growing, why we're not excelling or achieving the way we want to, because we live busy lives. And it's hard to upskill and develop yourself without some kind of a format that really creates a carve out in your weekly schedule that you invest more in yourself and your growth. I hear this all the time. Steve, I'm too busy to take on anything else. You know what that says to me? That's a huge red flag that says that you need this more than other people do. If I hear you say, I'm too busy, the reality is there are things that you need to drop. There are areas where you can create margin in your life. Because if you don't get that transformational process in place in your life, transformation is the new competitive advantage. I just did a podcast episode and a blog article this week on that very subject. But I know in busy times, you need help doing that. And that's why I have condensed 12 months of growth, training, development, consulting, coaching down into a 12-week process. But I want to talk about why I developed it the way I did, calling the EQFIT Masterminds. Many masterminds go for longer periods of time. They're bigger groups. Let me boil this down to what I think is most important when it comes to you investing in your own growth, whether you call it a coaching process or a mastermind or whatever. I think there are some specific elements that are critical. Number one, it has to start with a robust group of assessments, curated package of assessments specifically designed to measure what needs to be measured, to give you clarity, insight, to give you direction, to show you where your strengths are, where your gaps are, where your developmental opportunities are. If it doesn't start there, let me take this a different direction. If you're making a very important decision in your life, do you just do it randomly? Just whatever comes to your mind off the top of your head? Or do you do some research? Do you try to get the best data possible? Do you try to truly understand what the best decision and choice is going to be? I think most of us do that if it's an important decision in our life. I can't think of other decisions that are more important than what you invest in yourself and your growth, your development, your transformation. And I don't use the word change as much as I use transformation. Change is temporary. You go this direction for a while, and then you come back. This is transformation. This is caterpillar to butterfly stuff. There's no going back after that. And that's important because we've talked about the importance of good, validated data to give you clarity, insight, and direction on your path forward. And that's a big part of what we offer in our mastermind that a lot of people don't. How would you know what your emotional intelligence is? How would you know what your leadership skills are? How would you know how your personality style drives the way you do things, why you do them that way, how you like to do things? How would you know what your productive and counterproductive habits are unless you assessed those things and measured all those things? And when I talk about an assessment package, this is not one assessment. And I really get, it's a sore spot for me. And I'll be honest about that. When somebody says, oh, I'll give you a strengths assessment, that's all you need. You just need to work on your strengths. That is a pathway that is a slippery slope to a lot of bad things. Now, I'm not saying strengths assessments are bad, but by themselves, they do not cover everything you need to know about yourself to really have clarity and the insight you need to move forward with the right pathway. It needs to be a multidimensional assessment process that's measuring those different things that I've talked about. Okay, that's another thing that's really important. What else is important? Well, the collaborative learning that comes from a group of people coming together to focus on an area, whether it's leadership or sales. You know what? Those two things have so much in common because it's all about influence. And you don't get influence without good connection and trust building, because connection and trust building are the deposits you make in the influence bank account. And so the mastermind that I've created focuses in on the foundation of emotional intelligence, but also takes into account rational thinking, your higher thinking skills, and developing those. Habit transformation. Let's figure out where your counterproductive habits are holding you back, and let's enhance your productive habits. It also focuses on specific skill development, real world skill development. That's another differentiator of the mastermind that we offer to people. So we have the assessments, we have a focused curriculum approach, but that curriculum approach we're not just leaving you with a bunch of information. We practice things together. There's a great collaborative learning process with a group of people. Here's another thing in what makes a really good mastermind. If your group of people is more than 8 or 10 people, that's more of group coaching than a mastermind. Because when you get to 15, 20, 30 people, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I do that from time to time, but I call it group coaching. I don't call it part of this mastermind. A mastermind is a group of people that come together, they live together for a period of time with a focus on what they want to achieve in a specific area, skill development, and all of the things that I've talked about And then they come out of that 12-week process with new friendships, new relationships, learning from each other. Collaborative learning is a powerful process, but it can't happen when you get too many people in that mastermind. So that's another important part of that process. Also, you have to develop this in a way that makes sense. So I would guess that you're probably saying, Steve, I've got a very busy schedule. I don't know how to make this fit into my schedule. And what am I going to expect of all of this? Well, I've got a lot of information and detail I can send you, and I will always want to have a conversation with you first. I think that's very important. I want to understand who you are, because I'm pouring myself into those people for that 12-week period of time. That is a chunk of our lives that we're living together. And I want to make sure that every person that decides to join in that and invest in themselves gets the most out of that process. That's very important to me. My 2-word purpose is equip people. The longer definition of that, equip people to prosper. I want everybody to be prosperous in their life, to live an abundant life. So that's a very important part of the process, is to start with a conversation. And let's understand where you're coming from, what I bring to the table. That's another part of the EQFIT Masterminds that I think are so important. And I know this may sound like a sales job for my masterminds. And okay, fine, let it be a sales job. I don't care. Hear my heart in this. I want to help people who want that transformative journey. These are lifetime skills that you will incorporate and integrate in a 12-week period of time. And so this is a minuscule investment in yourself for the rest of your life. I talked about leadership and sales being very similar because of influence. There's also a lot of other things that are very similar. You cannot be successful in either one of those areas without other people. You just can't be. Whether you're leading or selling, other people will determine your success. And this is why in leadership, 70% of engagement, employee engagement, is directly correlated with the quality of leadership. Over 70% of the buying decision is based in emotional drivers. So this is why I always start with emotional intelligence and enhancing those competencies and skills in the masterminds, because they are the foundation of all human skills, all soft skills. I don't really like the term soft skills, but people use that all the time. So bottom line, employers are looking for emotional intelligence now far beyond any other skill set, far beyond IQ. I remember the story of someone who built a tech company. He was a CEO of a very successful tech company. And several years ago, they made a decision to hire only MBA graduates from Ivy League schools. And a couple of years later, he was being interviewed, and somebody asked him, how did that work out for you? And he said, and I'll always remember this quote, well, we realized we hired a bunch of really intelligent jerks. That's not where we want to be. We want to be emotionally intelligent as well as rationally and logically intelligent, because emotional intelligence skills at a high level directly correlate with the highest performers in sales and in leadership. So when you look for a mastermind, look for one that brings all of those elements in. Does it start with a conversation? Does it start with a one-on-one coaching session to show you what those assessments are saying to you. And an assessment package that is well thought through, well designed by a certified assessment professional who has multitudes of assessments available, but selects just the right ones for your specific growth and transformation. And is it the right group size? Is it a mix of curriculum and conversation in the group sessions? Is it work with busy schedules? Does it include an open opportunity to continue those conversations even past that 12-week period, which we have LinkedIn groups to support that long term for those who go through the EQFIT Masterminds? So I just wanted to give you a sense of what to look for. I'm actually doing a LinkedIn Live tomorrow to share this, what to look for in a mastermind, what works and what doesn't. Anyway, I'm going to sign off right now, but I wanted to share that with you today because here's what I truly believe. Your growth, your development, your success is dependent on you and what you're willing to invest in it. No matter who you work for, what company you're with, whatever you're doing, nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody is going to be there for you and push you into this. You have to want it. And if you want a competitive advantage, the competitive advantage for this century is the ability to transform, to grow, to develop new skills, to learn new things, to be willing to try new things, and to have the human skills that will parallel the technology skills that you're using so that those things come together to give you your best outcomes. Have a great day. I'll be back with you soon.